Hi, this is Jim Ziegler, and this is the Alpha Dawg Show, the Dawg Pound. And hey, today we got a limited crowd with high content. Wait till you hear what we got to talk about today. Starting with my good friend, the highline guru, Patrick O'Brien. Patrick, how you doing, big boy?
Man, I'm good. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in Atlanta today. So
Well, I'm there. I understand.
yeah, it's a wonderful day. We've been busy so far this morning, so it's good. It's a good day. I'm enjoying it.
You got inventory?
I have like 130, 145 cars on the ground. I got plenty.
Okay,
and I got space. I got space for 75 more. We're just not.
What's your average? What's your average inventory cost?
At this store, about 38,000.
Okay, very good. So you got what's your highest highline?
The most expensive car we have right now we have a few Rolls-Royce 2021 Cullinans that are flagship store. The average inventory cost over there is a little over 65,000.
Okay, very good.
And they have about 125 to 150 on the ground at all times also.
So you can get highline inventory right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Not as difficult.
And here's the thing, and this is something that I've kind of been looking at, and it's we haven't really had an inventory problem through most of this. But then again, we're also a very kind of niche dealer setup of what we do as far as the highline cars, under warranty, good Carfaxes, you know what I mean? Like the cars that we can use car lease also. So I haven't seen it, but again, we're highline cars. We're not selling program cars. We're not stocked full of Camrys and Honda Accords and Jettas and things like that, which are a little bit more difficult to actually acquire. Yeah. Because everybody wants trucks, pickup trucks or something. We're not a truck heavy store.
People are looking for $25,000 cars. That's high. And the queen of BDC, I'm talking about the goddess of business development centers. I'm talking
Love it.
Bobbie Herron. Hi, kid.
Hi, you. How are you today?
You're in Daphne, Alabama?
I am. I'm secretly placed around the country, running around like a crazy lady as usual.
You and Max are on your espionage together. I know what's going on here.
You guys are both doing espionage. Daphne, Alabama. You're working with my good friend Rick Lamette.
Yeah, great guy. Super impressive operation. Excited to be here.
Don't call him Lemaitre. That's a French name. Lamette.
They're very specific about that down here in the South. It's like the things they cook with and the way you pronounce their names.
Direct from Moscow, Russia. The man, are you in the Kremlin today? Are you in Pennsylvania? Are you in Spain? Or which one of your houses? New York?
I'm in Pennsylvania, Jim. And it's a miserable day in Pennsylvania, but it's great to be here with you guys. And I got to tell you, last show, I didn't say much, but I learned a lot. And now I'm a quick page customer, and it does wonders when it comes to conversion. When I'm pitching dealers and I send them a quick page, my goodness.
So you learned a lot last week. You jumped on quick page. People are learning a lot on the Dawg Pound.
It's an educational show.
And that's what I was saying, Jim, last time, that when it comes to video marketing, right, my industry, be it, F&I products, F&I training, reinsurance, my industry is stuck in the Stone Age. And when I come out swinging with quick page, I'm like light years ahead of my competition. I take out my samurai sword, right, and I slay the dragon.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, listen to this
samurai sword?
This guy is the king of reinsurance. He is the king of F&I. He's got 4 books on Amazon. This guy is now he's cutting edge with quick page. We just taught him how to set his camera. I'm a
quick learner.
And now one of my best friends in the business. I don't say I admire a whole lot of people, because I love myself dearly, But anyway, humility is never something I've been afflicted with. I never
humble
caught
with a hint of Kanye.
Yeah, humility has never afflicted me. But one of my idols, one of my friends, one of the super performers from Furman Chevrolet. You still got Furman Mazda too, don't you? Yeah, okay. My good friend, Brad Wise. Hello, Brad.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for that nice introduction. It's beautiful here in Tampa, and we're having another great month. And every month I say that this is the end of the steroid era, but it just keeps going. So we'll keep riding this train as long as we can, Jim.
You're going to be riding this train mid 22, maybe into 23.
Yeah,
This is
I think so too.
this. When we got 500 ships off the coast trying to unload. Yesterday my wife and I were in Sam's Club loading up on paper towels and toilet paper. The shortage is coming.
Yeah. Funny enough, so I was right before this, I was out on the lot doing a lot walk with one of the salespeople, and the truck starts to pull up. Everybody in the whole lot is like freeze frame. So excited. I said, you remember what it used to be like? Why they got to deliver that truck in the middle of the day while we're doing stuff, while we're busy, like parking our way. Now we're like, come on in. Where do you want to park? Let's get you some lunch. How can we help you? Drop all these cars here. Beautiful. Hi, Ashley Church. She's the bomb.
Yeah. Oh, God.
She's one of my favorite people ever.
Audience is starting to build up. Okay. We don't have a whole lot of subjects today, so we're going to talk about everything and anything. One thing I want to talk about is the manufacturers are starting to tighten up. Whenever there is a problem in the car business, the manufacturers go to the dealers on bloody knees, begging us to bail them out. And no doubt they're tightening up. All of a sudden, co-op is reducing. Now, Bobbie, you said something about that earlier.
Yeah, CDJR. Well, I imagine it'll be a lot of them, but we get it kind of secondhand sometimes. I was doing a marketing analysis and had to speak with FCA, which is how I knew that CDJR just made a massive change. I suspect we will be seeing all of them doing the same thing in short order, right? They're not wanting to spend the same amount of money on marketing new cars because new cars are already in a supply and demand situation, and we don't have the inventory for it. But rather than keeping the dealers in a situation where they can really market for CPO or to give some authority to be able to use it for branding, they're doing a significant cutback. I'm interested to see what that'll look like mid-year, because you typically don't get that like in the middle of October. That's not usually when we're seeing those kind of changes.
Brad, what are you seeing?
Well, I've been doing a lot of reading and listening to different podcasts from people smarter than I am on what lies ahead, and nobody really knows. But we definitely have to make sure that when anybody's making a lot of money, there's always going to be people around the corner that are going to try to find a way to, counteract that. And I'm a friend of the factory. I always have been. I don't think it's a good idea to be an enemy of the factory. But I see margins decreasing on new EV models that are coming. I see the co-op programs like Bobbie was talking about. I could also see floor plan credits being looked at. I'm sure that those kinds of things are being talked about on how to, leverage the fact that the dealer is making so much money right now. So dealers in general just have to be prepared for those conversations and fight back the way that we can in a professional way. And the car business should be feast or famine. When things are bad and you're making very little money or losing money on a vehicle, they should also participate in the good times as well. So that's what capitalism's all about. That's how I feel about it.
What about this? Have you guys seen this magnesium shortage?
No.
The what?
Get this. So Chelsea actually sent me, I was chatting with her on the phone the other night, and she said, hey, I know you're on site, probably not watching the news, but have you seen the magnesium shortage? I went, no. So apparently there's a Chinese magnesium shortage that directly affects our alloy and aluminum production. That's going to have a direct effect on our industry, even more so, right? And not to be alarmist, I don't know. I just started researching it the other night, but I've started to read some stuff. But it's so new, I hadn't heard about it anywhere else yet.
So the way it works is that you use magnesium to strengthen the aluminum, and you use aluminum to make any car. It doesn't matter what brand it is.
Right.
And without it, you just can't make a car, period. So if China doesn't address it, in a very short order, you will think of the chip shortage, as, the best shortage ever.
Mm-hmm. They're saying within weeks. We're going to feel this within weeks is what I saw in all the research I was doing.
Wow.
And I was reading it on Apple News and then, in the Herald and things like that. So I didn't get real deep into it. I didn't see anything on automotive news yet, but I was just curious if anybody else had seen this, because even think about not even in car supply for manufacturing, but tires, things like that. When we're talking about, I live in Michigan, we're going into winter soon. That's a big deal. And apparently it is very alarmist in how fast it's going to be doing. And they were saying that it could force like a halt in production within weeks.
Absolutely.
That's wild. I hadn't heard anything about that.
Yeah,
I
take a
definitely
look
want
at
to
the
look into
article
that.
in the
That's
Financial
wild.
Times.
Yeah.
Bobbie, bring it on.
But you know what? You know what though? And that's like the magnesium shortage. Okay, this is something that people typically aren't looking at or thinking about, and how it can affect, our business and what we're doing. Something like magnesium, I guess, that, for lack of better terms, we take for granted in a day-to-day life because it's always around, it's always available. So there's going to be other things that
Ashley
we're
Church
short
on it, sharing the link right there.
And as we start going into a shortage for more and more things, I think production's going to halt in more and more ways, because there's less and less materials to make the automobiles that we're needing. And it's funny, for the first time in 25 years that I've been listening to automotive radio advertisements, I know people don't listen to the radio, whatever. I exclusively listen to sports talk radio. Only listen to sports talk radio. I don't listen to music anymore in the car. I've full transferred over to being an adult, right?
You're like a real adult.
I know, right? So for the first time ever, it's a Jim Ellis store. It was a Kia store. It was actually a store that my family used to own. And their radio advertisements used to be something like, come pick out from our selection, this, that, and the other. Now it's, reach out to us and order your Kia your way. That's their message. Order your Kia your way, or come by and take a look at our certified pre-owned.
Well, Patrick, right now the manufacturers are watching Tesla, and the problem with the manufacturers, and I know we got a couple of manufacturers that follow this broadcast because they're afraid of what I'm going to say. But
I know you've got us all. Now we're on the government list because of Max. Watch your spies.
But the truth is, the manufacturers. I mean, I've had a lot of predictions through the years that came true. Not because I'm so brilliant, but because other people were so stupid. And what has happened is, all of a sudden we get all these manufacturers finally trained, and they retire. Here comes a whole new bunch doing the same shit that the other ones used to do. And they don't learn. It's a cycle. I mean,
I'd really like to see us get focused on service
the newer cycle is, they believe, watching Tesla, that consumers are going to buy built-to-order cars. I mean, and the manufacturers think, we can slow production. Brad, how well do you think that's going to work when manufacturers don't give you the inventory?
Well, I think people that want to buy a car from home and never come to the dealership is way overblown. That's just my own opinion. Maybe, I'll be proven wrong. I think there's a very small percentage of the people that I don't think you can compare buying disposable razors on Amazon to buying a car, because it's a completely different purchase. It's an exciting purchase. It's not a purchase that they do regularly. So people still want to hop in the car, go to the car dealership and see cars. It's sort of like going to a museum or an exhibit. There's something.
Or an amusement park.
I like how you compared it to a museum.
Right, but I do think a lot of the work can be done prior to the visit, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And market share is the holy grail for the manufacturer, and we can say that we're only going to try to operate at a 60-day supply moving forward. But all it's going to take is one manufacturer to break that mold and open the floodgates to go back to normal. Then everyone will follow suit.
Exactly. The man's a friggin' genius. Listen to what he's saying. I'm telling you.
But at the same time, the manufacturer is loving not having to put all these incentives on the cars. Right. So I think they're all going to try it, but they're going to be cautiously optimistic. And there's going to be people like me that are going to try to break down the barrier and take over the world, and use every advantage and get every unfair advantage that you can, because we're competitive. And there's going to be a manufacturer out there like that that's going to see that as a moment to really. I mean, if you've got a 120-day supply of selection of cars, and everybody else has none, and they want you to wait 6 weeks, well, people aren't going to do that.
Brad, you just said something You said supply and then you said selection. Now that's two different things. Selection is important when they can see that they can choose, because we know for a fact, and manufacturers don't know this. Manufacturers live in their own world. Consumers very rarely, if ever, buy the car they came to buy.
Yeah.
The
No,
car that
people switch all the
they
time.
the car they thought they were going to buy when they left the house is not the car they take.
Right.
And manufacturers don't get that. What do you think, Bobbie?
Well, I mean, I think that the manufacturer has a different objective than we do as a dealer, right?
Yeah.
It's two different businesses that are in the same industry. So of course they're always going to be looking at what's the smartest way for them to maintain their own gross profit, be ahead of the game, and be ahead of some of the other OEMs. Right now, there's not really a choice on it, right? If we've got a chip shortage and we're gonna have a magnesium shortage, we're at a lull for our inventory right now. What shocks me about the manufacturer is that in cutting co-op and doing things like this, where there's not a huge push right now for service and body shop, where we are making our money, where we are retaining our customers, I'm really shocked to see that that's not become a real big emphasis, right, across the board. But with the OEM, I think there's always some selfishness in it. And I can say that because I'm not a dealer, so they can't tell me no to having a dealership, right? But at the same time, it's never been hand in hand the way that it's supposed to. It's never really been easy, And I think OEMs get sold by PR people and salespeople at vendor companies that make them feel good, and then they make dealers do things that aren't the right thing to do and that don't matter, and then they cut ties and let's keep less inventory on the lot. We've dealt with this before, just not in a forced nature where we couldn't fight back.
Now, let me ask you a question. EV, electric vehicles. Did the public ever rise up and clamor a mandate for EV cars?
No.
Is this the public or is this the manufacturers?
We never agree on
The
this.
only people that want EV cars are the people that like the smell of their own farts. I cannot. Oh my gosh, I hate. Oh my god.
Think about, let me just, because we do this every time, but I just have to say it. The OEM spends millions and billions of dollars on doing studies on what's going to make them money. There would be no significant reason outside of that there is a desire for both climate change and people who want to own this vehicle to have companies like GM going to building, primarily EV. So whether we can look at it and be like, oh, that's a dumb car, there is a market for it though. There always has been.
There's a market for EVs, but is it a mainstream market? Is it most of the people?
I think that if there was a charging station at every gas station, the way we have gas stations where it was easily accessible, you would see it become way more mainstream than it is currently.
All right, hold on.
But I
really do.
At the end of the day, I think you have to let the market
Max hates
decide.
EV.
I do.
Right,
too.
I do hate EVs, but you
The
have
market
to
is not deciding. The manufacturers and the politicians are deciding.
Yes, exactly, Jim. That's my point. That we don't.
They changed the
give
narrative.
Opportunity for the market to decide the true winner. What you have is blatant government interference, right? And an attempt to basically legislate an internal combustion engine out of existence, right? And that's not a good way. You have to let consumers make their own choice. And like I said many times, internal combustion engine came a long way. If you look at the emissions, if you look at the gas mileage per gallon, right? At the same time, if you look at what it costs actually, in terms of damaging the environment to get lithium, to produce a lithium battery, and then how much coal you got to burn to charge that car, you understand that this is all blatant Green New Deal propaganda.
And listen,
Yeah,
so also on
that?
this,
I don't know
hold
who
on.
just posted that, but that's a fact. Most dealers do not
Hold
sell
on.
EVs like EV buyers want to buy them.
Wait a minute. What does that mean? What
Right.
does that mean? Come on.
Well, most dealers don't sell most cars the way that buyers want to buy them, but definitely I
And
can
look,
see
but
that.
I want to talk one more thing about I read an article on Forbes the other day, okay, and it was shocking at how much people think that an EV car is so much more financially, it's like that it's cheaper to drive, that it's cheaper to maintain, when it's not. I was reading and they broke down the numbers, and all the numbers are it's almost like $4 more per mile to drive an EV car cost-wise than it is a regular good gas mileage, a Civic, a Camry, a
Not buying
Corolla.
Right.
No, it is.
I'm not buying that.
And the way they broke the numbers down, it made perfect sense because you got to charge it in. And listen,
Brad, get
I don't
in there
care
a
how
second.
quick you charge these cars. Unless you can charge it as quickly as I can put gas in my car, it's not going to go mainstream.
Let Brad jump in a second. Brad, jump in a second here.
I think the EVs are coming, but not nearly as fast as everyone predicts. I think government's going to have a little something to do with whoever's in the White House, because you have to understand who tends to lose a lot in the EV growth. Oil companies,
gas
companies. So depending on what party wins the next presidential cycle, will either enhance and speed up the EVs or slow them down. But young people are definitely into EVs. The environment is much more important to young people than it is to older people, and there's just a different ideology with younger people on this regard. So I think it's inevitable that EVs are going to be a big part of the future.
I was going to say, I think the younger generation definitely does.
Well, the younger generation will be the older generation before long. So
I think we beat EVs to death. Let's go back to built-to-order cars. I wanted to we didn't spend enough time on it for my liking. I think we need to.
You just know EVs get us all sassed up because none of us agree on it.
Built-to-order cars. I mean, the manufacturers. I mean, and Ford has made a total commitment to less supply. They think customers are going to order custom ordered cars. What is that really going to happen?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Take into consideration the psyche of American consumer, right?
How do they not get this?
I don't know, but we want instant gratification, right? I want to take the car home today.
I do, exactly. I've been doing this 47 years.
Didn't Ford try this at one point decades ago, Jim? I feel like I've heard you talk about this before.
It's been tried, but what gets me?
They failed miserably at it.
Right now, I think Ford is one of the most dealer-friendly. And let me finish this. I think Ford Motor Company is one of the most dealer-friendly of the manufacturers. Not that any manufacturer is dealer-friendly, but if I had to say one of them is more dealer-friendly, we know for years the least dealer-friendly. And this is my opinion. My opinion. Everybody heard that? My opinion, Nissan is the worst, the absolute worst. And for years, Hyundai and Kia have been the best dealer-friendly franchises out there. But now, all of a sudden, this guy Munoz, that was part of Goins' Gestapo over at Nissan, he goes over. He's at Hyundai now, and Hyundai all of a sudden is oppressive to the dealers. Hyundai right now is telling the dealers they got to build this stupid facility requirement. I mean, they can't recoup their investment in facility, and at the same time, as Brad Wise will attest, they're cutting the margins. So we're cutting the margins and requiring ridiculous palatial facilities. So what's your thoughts, Brad? I'm just going to jump to you for a second.
Like somebody just mentioned, we're in a we want it now society. I mean, with Amazon, I can order something and it could even be here today. So it really doesn't go with what people want. People want it now. And I can see if they want to go to that model, they're really going to have to bring the dealer in and discuss this collaboratively. Because I know the Ford dealers have salespeople out in the service drive asking them if they can order a car in their name so they can get extra allocation. There's just going to be manipulation galore. You're going to have problems with trade-ins depreciating in 6 weeks. You're going to have problems with deposits and somebody got a better deal somewhere else. There's a whole lot to go over here that they need to include the dealer. I mean, the frontline dealer people, not the dealer, on how poke holes in this and come up with something that would work instead of rolling some factory program out where nobody's ever been near a showroom before and it just isn't going to work. I mean, dealers are resourceful. They'll figure anything out. But to really make that system work, all it's going to take is one manufacturer to just open the floodgates and have a bunch of cars on the lot, and that'll be over. Because market share is more important than anything to the manufacturer. So
yeah,
I don't see it happening.
Well, and then what about thank you, Bobbie Johnson. Think about dealership relationship status when it comes to the customer experience and what reputation is going to look like? Because how many times are we going to take a deposit on an order where they find something somewhere else, and then we end up with a process that says we're not refunding the deposit, and now we have angry customers leaving bad reviews for both the OEM and the dealership. I mean, I don't think that those things can't work, but I think that there are changes that have to be made alongside of them so that there aren't roadblocks and objections that occur that end in bad things for the dealership as well. We're already fighting enough battles with that.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll tell you,
customers do order cars now. I mean, they're not always ordering cars.
Goodness. Now, I'm not the wealthiest guy you ever met, but I am a certified millionaire several times over. But I caught myself on Amazon the other day. I sold somebody out for 15 cents. I was fine tuning my buy down to 15 cents, and I got a minute. I said, "What the hell am I doing?" Consumers will sell you out for how much?
Yeah, but they'll get buyer's remorse. They'll start shopping, and the salesperson, Jim Ziegler, from many years ago, will have his nice big gross being analyzed for 6 weeks, and then they'll call you on the phone and say, "Well, what about this ad I saw that's supposed to be this and that?" There's just going to be a lot of problems with it, which is why they need to bring frontline salespeople into this process if that's what they're really going to do, to try to figure out a way that there's not manipulation, there's not fake orders being put in, there's not penalties to the dealer for canceled orders. This is a lot to it, but I mean, if we operating at a 60-day supply of cars is one thing, but just to do order only, I think is not realistic.
Oh yeah. Well, you have to have choices, right? The best of the best know that you have to be able, you think about marketing as always, what's the message? How was it given to the consumer? At what point in time? And was it given correctly? Yeah. The same is true with sales. Do you have what the customer is looking for? And do you have the choices that they want? Do you have an EV vehicle if I want one? Do you have the ability to deliver it to me? If you don't have the car that I want, can I absolutely order it if I'm the kind of customer who's willing to wait? Or can I have a salesperson in front of me that's going to show me a car that's more dynamic and that's available right now and close that? We need to be where the customer is, and we need to be offering what the customer is looking for. And this generation, this customer base is shifting. I mean, think about 7 years ago, we used to talk about, you better learn how to recruit and train millennials, because by 2020, there's going to be 75% of the workforce, and everybody was all up in arms about it. And it's past 2020, and it's more than 75%. It's coming, whether we want it to be there or not. It's what we
Guess what happened to the millennials? They became us.
Right. I'm the last year of a millennial. I'm a millennial, technically.
So am I, technically.
They turned into us. They had babies. They barbecue and they live out in the suburbs. I mean, they turned.
Life comes at you fast,
It does.
Yeah, it does.
You ever seen that commercial where the guy's telling you don't turn into your parents?
Right. They did.
I haven't, because I don't watch TV.
Oh my gosh.
I never see commercials.
They did turn into their parents.
But Jim, I want to also make another point when it comes to manufacturers. I am convinced that every manufacturer out there is secretly salivating over Tesla and their success. And they want to be like Tesla. So what they're actually doing by reducing the margins and asking you to invest millions of dollars into the facility upgrades is just a subtle way of driving you out of business so they can go and sell direct to the consumer. I mean, that's what my paranoid mind tells me.
Tesla, there's not many options on a Tesla. So with Chevrolet, for example, there's about 10,000 different combinations of options and models to order from. Now Tesla's made it super simple. So if that were to happen, there would have to be 3 or 4 different choices, and that's it. Or a holding lot where all dealers are able to get inventory in a few days. Maybe that's a happy medium where the most popular configurations are stored somewhere, and then when the dealer sells it with a bona fide deal, they deliver the car to them.
I'm kind of
have you guys?
That's actually a really slick idea.
Oh yeah.
Jamie Pullen, I just put it on the screen. Jamie Pullen on the sidebar says, this business will absolutely be built to order only, likely within the next few years. The supply chain challenges are not going away. So in other words, his opinion is because of all the supply chain challenges we have, the business is going to revert to built to order.
Listen, life is unpredictable, and when you total your car, right, there is no 6 weeks build to order luxury that you have. You need to be able to replace it right then and there. So, dealers absolutely must have inventory on the lot. We can't just go and order and wait because, like we said before, life comes at you fast and circumstances change.
Well, and the dealers aren't going to take that sitting down either, right? But the supply chain challenge problem is that they didn't see that coming. And when they saw it coming, they didn't prepare for it. And so now we have a reactive approach to try to prevent it from happening again, right? Can't have millions of cars sitting on the ground because we don't have a freaking chip. Like, somebody figure out how to make this chip already. It's enough. It doesn't need to come from across the world, right? The magnesium thing that's coming up, there's been 75 other small things that disrupt our supply chain and have for a long time. But if we have a proactive plan, then it doesn't need to be a reactive approach where everybody freaks out. But if you're familiar at all with how they sell in Canada, it's actually kind of like a combination between the Tesla approach and our approach here. Like, a lot of the dealerships in Canada, you don't walk in and just test drive any car. There's a specific make and model with that trim package that is the test drive car. You are sitting down first and approaching what's the payment, what are you doing? And then here's the car that fits your needs. And they do a ton on ordering. And right, we look at them and say, hey, they're not as progressive, but they're still getting it done. There is a blend that will work in this.
Bobbie, I've done business with a lot of Canadian dealers. Not one of them does the volume we do. Not one.
Oh, no. And I'm not saying that they do, but what I'm saying is, if the OEM comes out, it's like the EV thing. If they come out and they say, absolutely, we're going to do on order only, and we fight it and we don't win, the end result is that proactively, we need to have a plan for how this will work, and used cars will be available. We're going to have to get out of the box on a great on-order process, because it doesn't matter if we like it. If that's what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen.
Well, Max brought it up. Max hit it on the head. The manufacturers have got the idea that they can sell cars basically using dealers as service and warehouses to keep the cars. Right. Manufacturers, every 20 years, the manufacturers decide that they can retail cars without us. But those pesky franchise laws keep getting in the way. The last time they really tried it was in 1998, 2000, General Motors and Ford. Ford had something called the Auto Collection.
That's it.
And they were selling directly against their own dealers. They bought dealerships. They went one price, and they failed miserably. I helped them to fail. I mean, I was organizing the dealers the other direction, and I was very successful at it. And then General Motors and West Rydell decided they were going to have General Motors. This is the runs. What was the guy's name? Anybody remember the guy from? He came from Power Lenses. Anyway, yeah, he was gonna go. The dealers are gonna have factory-owned dealerships, and they had like 10 or 20 of them. General Motors failed miserably. Manufacturers do not know how to sell cars. You people are not suited for it. If you come to me for a sales job, I would not hire you. You're not qualified, and you don't have the. Okay. Man, we just lost Patrick.
Laura Hayes is throwing in some great information on this conversation. You guys, we say this every time, but we don't get to see every comment that comes through because they're coming from so many places. So sometimes we can see them, and it looks like you're throwing in some great quality content up in here.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Many countries are order only, and consumers wait months for a car. Max is a Russian. He understands that.
So I'll give you an example, Jim. I bought 2 cars in Spain, right? And Spain is the order, country. You order a car and you wait and wait and wait. And it doesn't help their economy at all, and also, getting back to government interference in Spain, let's say a Toyota dealership gets a certain allocation of trucks based on the emissions that these trucks produce. So once you go over a limit, right, you cannot get, let's say, more than 5 Tacomas, right? And it doesn't matter that you have 100 customers waiting for them. That's your government interference and this blatant green propaganda. So America is a unique country where we have a certain mentality when it comes to consumption. We want everything now, preferably yesterday. We want to choose the color, the option, like Brad said, there are 10,000 options when it comes to ordering a Chevy. And I'm sure there's a reason for that, right? Because everybody has different needs. And it does, our economy depends on this type of consumerism. And I don't think there's anything we can do about it. There's anything we should do about it. That's what makes this country great.
It was amazing. When the Germans bought Chrysler, Mercedes-Benz bought Chrysler. I'm talking back in the early 2000s. They actually flew me to Auburn Hills up here in Michigan, and I sat on a bar stool in the middle of the room, and I was surrounded by executives. They were asking me questions, and I came to realize they had no concept of how consumers buy cars. Their concepts were completely misguided. And then the president of General Motors flew me to Detroit, and I sat in the basement of the Renaissance Center. There's a restaurant in the center, and all the division heads of General Motors were sitting at another table, and they brought me. And they brought one at a time over to the table where I was. They were asking me questions about their franchise. But manufacturers today are not quizzing anybody in retail about how to sell their cars.
Well, it's interesting.
I got Brad here, and I wanted to ask Brad a question. Brad, you are one of the foremost figures in the car business. How often does General Motors consult you on how to sell cars?
Never.
I mean,
right. Yeah, I agree with you. There's definitely a missing element to that, because we're a very high volume dealer, and a high volume dealer will give away cars. We'll lose money on cars because we make it up on trade-ins and F&I and dealer money and dealer fee and so on and so on, et cetera. When the high volume dealer loses that enthusiasm to move metal, they're in big trouble. And this nitpicking with stair-step programs, cutting co-op, that gets me less enthusiastic to sell their product. And you know what's going to happen? Which is happening right now. Everybody's shifting to used. So you're gonna find very few salespeople that are going to want to sell new cars if this trend continues. They're all going to flock to used until somebody figures out how to disrupt the used car selling process. And another shoe to drop is that there's an old saying that once you've experienced a certain level of success or income, you can never go back. So the salespeople, managers, general managers that are making 3 times as much money right now than they were 2 years ago, and they're out spending the money and they're living high on the hog, when that reality comes back to normal, you're going to have two different streets to go on. One is they're not going to be able to deal with it, and they're going to complain about it, and they're going to fail, and they're going to have to get out of the business. Then there's going to be other people that are resourceful and survival mode that are going to have to say, I'm going to have to sharpen my skills in order to maintain the amount of income that I've been used to for the last 2 years. So that's going to be very interesting to see how all of us come back from this gravy train where the fish are jumping in the boat, because you don't have to be good.
I love that.
Let's just face it.
I do too. That's great.
You can mishandle a phone call, you can mishandle an internet lead, and you're still selling the car. And that, I think about that all day long, and getting ready for that day when the grind is back. I'm actually looking forward to going back to the grind. And I know it's a sadistic kind of a statement to make. I certainly appreciate the money I'm making, but other than that, it's just too easy. And it's going to be very interesting to see how we all come back from that.
It's going to be real easy to outrank your competition when you are proactively focused on that, because the habits that have been formed and the unrealistic expectations that people who are new in our industry that have been shown over this last year is disgusting. You watch it happen and you're just like, that's not going to work in a year. And you think about, we have a tangible loss of over 7 million units. 7 million units. I live in Michigan, where I'm driving past these plants and these open fields. There are thousands of 2020 and 2021 vehicles just chilling in a field. By the time we get chips,
wait a minute,
what's that going to do to the value?
Right. That's one of the biggest worries I've had about
Bobbie,
this.
slow down. Everybody slow down. Bobbie, what kind of cars were those?
All of them. All of them.
I mean, you're in Michigan. domestic manufacturers.
Tons of, we have a ton of
I have
domestic
heard there's
manufacturing plants.
100,000 F-150s built and ready for chips.
Yep.
I can tell you, like, when you're driving down the highways next to our plants, even the overflow lots are overflowed. We actually have dealership lots, local dealership lots, where their back lots are filled with overflow units as a favor to the manufacturer and to the plants because they don't have a place to store them. Can you imagine if that was your lot at the end of the year and you're trying to get rid of old age units? What does that look like? What does that look like with the value when this does even keel that out? Forget the, what we've done to ourselves with it, but man, it just kills me with the people, right? I'm watching salespeople, just not this week, obviously, but I'm watching salespeople learn the absolute most back-ended way to do a customer experience and to work with it because it's become so easy. And the managers at the desk who are allowing that happen should be ashamed of themselves because when those people can't put food on the table to feed their family because they didn't know how, it's on that manager for allowing that to happen. And it's on that GM for watching it continue. It's already hard enough to hire good people, and we're setting them up for failure. We're like, go buy a boat, go do your thing. You got people buying houses we know they can't afford in a year and a half from now, instead of putting them into financial planning classes and helping them out. It's gross.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
There'll be an exodus of people. Bobbie is right. There'll be an exodus of people leaving car business. People that started their automotive careers during this pandemic that never knew what it's like to get a mini commission of $50 or $75. You know,
to put the work in.
Exactly.
To call for months to get somebody to answer to you, to follow up after a showroom visit, to just say hello and build an actual relationship, to walk your butt to the service drive and say hello to the customer that bought from you because the relationship part matters. They're not learning that anymore. And I'm not trying to be a jerk and say, oh, every dealer's out there messing it up. I don't mean it like that. But I'm saying if you're a dealer watching and you don't think it's being messed up, spend some time at your desk and see if that's actually happening because you have a short period of time to reverse it.
And that's why
we got people in the sidebar debating with each other.
Love that.
That's why
this is a hot broadcast. This is really, really doing well.
It's a good conversation, right? What about rental fleet? Think about that for a minute. I travel across the country all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've rented a car and it's not available when I get there anymore. And it's 1 a.m. and I'm stuck in rural like Kansas without a way to get somewhere because it's not a taxi service and Uber is not running because there's no rental cars available in the fleet. And they're saying, 50% of production that would normally go in is what's going to go in now. That's crazy.
That's why this shortage is going to last another year at least.
Yeah.
There's huge demand for fleet and commercial rental. There's people who are just out on the car business right now because the prices of cars are too expensive. There's going to be a mass next year. If they can produce the cars, will be a very high volume year, and the grosses will be good. They won't be as good as they are right now, but they will be good. So 2022 could be even a better year than 2021, and then after that, we'll see. Nobody really knows what's going to happen after. Maybe it's this magnesium thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, everything's going to I'll tell you, I know more about semiconductor chips than I ever wanted to know in my life these days. But you even think about these southern states for a minute. The amount of hurricanes that were named hurricanes this year started like 2 months early. I'm not a weather expert, so I might be a little off here. But they've had a multitude of extra hurricanes here that they wouldn't normally have that have wiped out entire cities of vehicles, entire lots of vehicles that now have to be replaced. Used to be they would be able to pull from the market or come up into like Michigan area and pull cars. We don't have that to sell right now. So we have a whole customer base down here that actually physically can't obtain a vehicle, and it's hundreds of people.
Look at what Jim Fitzpatrick just said on the sidebar, Bobbie.
Right.
Glad to have you in the audience.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'll tell you what, I believe in culture in a dealership, and I really, truly believe that if you want to have a good team that doesn't turn over and works hard for you, they have to know that you care for them. And for the first time ever, well, maybe not the first time ever, but I would say a work perk should be if you're bringing some kid, I don't care if you're 25, I think 25-year-old's a kid still, right? Because now I'm 40. So like, if you're bringing a kid into the dealership who was making $10, $12 an hour, and they're all of a sudden making $80,000 a year, you have a requirement to offer a financial perk of like a financial planning class to make sure that they understand how to do a budget so that they're not in bankruptcy in 2 years. You have a requirement to your people to do that, or you can't demand that they work as hard for you. Those are the kinds of things I want to see dealerships doing now.
Brad Wise, how much talent are you losing?
None. We're stacked with talent. we are so blessed with talent, and it's improving every month. In fact, next month I've got a 60 car a month salesperson coming. That's one of our strengths as a company is we are great at recruiting great talent, and it's easier when you're in Tampa. It's the great migration to Florida is real, and combine that with 126 years in business, and we have so much to offer here.
Oh, the Furman dealerships are first class. I mean, I go back 25 years with you guys. You guys have always been first class, just incredible.
But us as leaders is we need to control the narrative with our people and let them know that this is an absolute gift that we have, and to keep them humble. And it's not easy because I've got people that are just spending money like crazy. And like you said, people who weren't here during the normal times that came from the restaurant industry.
But before times.
Making six figures. And our team has done a good job keeping them grounded and letting them know what lies around the corner. But it is going to be a little bit of a culture shock. And,
Jim Fitzpatrick just asked a question on the sidebar. It's on the screen right now.
There are no minis. So
okay,
that was a
last mini was paid 2 years ago.
Yeah. The new cars are selling at list plus, and they're all making a fortune. It's just like Christmas every single day. I mean, even if with less inventory, if you're used to selling 5 cars a week and you only sell 2, you're still making more than you were selling 5.
Six car Fred's making 150 grand.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the kind of culture that you have in a dealership. Of course, somebody who is a 60 car a month salesperson wants to go work for a store that sells over 500 units, that has a training program, that has leadership skills, that clearly has closers or you wouldn't be selling that many, that has good marketing, and that wants to retain them. Those are the kind of companies that people want to go work for. So you can't recruit great talent across the country if you're just being average. Right. You have to be able to be proactive, right? And as we're talking,
average is the exact point where sucks starts.
Yeah, I tell people in all these training classes I do, I'm like, dude, if you're cool with being average, I can't make you change, but I can give you the tools to do it. I'm not okay with being average. That just doesn't work for me. Don't care what the position is.
No, it's amazing the kind of money that is available in the car business. When I was a top manager in some of the biggest dealerships in the country, when I was in retail before I became a consultant, my theory was always hire the best people and pay them too much.
Yeah. And get out of their way.
And get out of their way.
Jim,
let them do their jobs. Let them do their job. Pay them for the job that they do. I mean, just get out of their way.
Pay them too much. I mean,
best.
Yeah. The last 3 jobs I had in the car business, I left because of pay renegotiation. The manufacturer said I was making more money than the pay plan was designed to pay.
I hate it when that happens. I see that happen to people all the time, and it's just like, why? If you, as an owner of any business in general, I don't care if it's a landscaping company, you need to look at what the max values of your pay plan, what you would be bringing in versus paying out. If you're not comfortable with that, don't write the pay plan. I wish people would stop writing pay plans that are made for a couple months, that are temporary. Not that I don't think you should not review a pay plan. You absolutely should, and you shouldn't get out of the way of somebody who's not doing their job correctly. But if you wrote the pay plan to make it last, review it together, and it shouldn't be changed because you maxed it out. That is the point of a pay plan.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point.
Absolutely.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I got Chris Bennett saying, what is your view on the lease crash? I don't understand what we're talking about here. What is the lease crash?
There really is.
I don't.
Car values are skyrocketing, so I don't see a lease crash.
But
I think we need a better clarifier on that, so we don't assume.
I just got out of a 2019 Audi Q7 that I was in a 3.5 year lease, and I sold it back to the dealer and got a $2,500 refund.
Yeah.
I love to lease. I love to sell leases. I love to teach how to sell leases. I like to run businesses and dealerships that have strong lease departments in them.
Salespeople today don't know how to sell leases.
No, they really don't.
I have a video on my platform, how to sell leases. And it is one of the most watched videos that I ever made. Salespeople do not know how to sell leases.
Well, and like we've talked about before, I'll tell you right now, if you were focused on leases in a dealership right now, with the way that grosses have skyrocketed, you might not be as screwed in 2.5 years. when that clientele wants to come back in and trade in their car. So if possible, it's great for the customer and it's great for the dealership.
Well,
it really makes a massive difference.
I have said in the articles I've written in the magazines that we need to concentrate on leasing right now. Because 3 years from now, these customers come in and we sold them for $10,000 over sticker and we were slapping high fives and giving each other trophies. All of a sudden, these people and the manufacturer's going to flood the market. When the market's flooded, values are going to drop and they can buy a brand new one. It's going to be awful. The consumers are going to absolutely despise us. We should have leased those cars. Right now, the smartest dealers are going to concentrate on leasing because in 3 years they can get out of it regardless.
Yep.
In 3 years,
who knows what's going to happen? How easy is it to tell a customer the truth? Who knows what's going to happen in 2.5 years with the value of vehicles? You have a set value, a market price set right now that you can purchase the vehicle for, hand it back for, or get a trade-in value on that can be focused. And I might be a little biased. I'm from Michigan and I learned how to sell cars there. And that's what we do there. We lease the majority of our vehicles.
Hey, Bobbie, Jim Fitzpatrick just said it on the sidebar. Let's get real. And I'm with justice to Brad. When inventories come back to normal, and they're not going to come back to normal, they're going to be surplus inventory. When we are flooded with, when you got 150 Silverados on the lot overnight, all of a sudden we're going to be giving them puppies away. And when we start giving those puppies away, guess what? The grosses are going to be awful. I mean, we're going to accept any deal. I mean, all of a sudden. It's
like grosses were never really awful, though, especially if the manufacturer is giving a kickback if you're an employee deal or anything like that. But think about it, it's going to be so easy to hand your competition just whoosh. It's going to be so easy because all you're going to have to do is remember.
When I was in management,
relationships.
General Motors was the first one to start doing it, and it pissed me off because I was with Potemkin Cadillac at the time. When the manufacturer started paying salespeople directly, that was the biggest mistake they ever made. I don't want a manufacturer directly paying my salespeople. Brad?
Well, I see that a little bit differently because if somebody wants to pay my salespeople, I'm all for them making more money. If a mini deal is $150 or $200 on a new car, and then they can get another $150 from the factory and make $300 a car, I don't see anything wrong with that. Explain, Jim, why don't you like it?
Well, at the time, we were excess inventory, as we are talking about in the future. And when we had excess inventory, it was encouraging mini deals. It was encouraging salespeople. It took it out of management's control.
Right. They didn't go after the gross. They just wanted the point. I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that is the same disease we're going to have when we have an excess of inventory.
Right.
But when is that actually going to be? I mean, it goes right back to the very beginning of our conversation of the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, we're talking years from now. I mean, Brad, you would probably be the foremost expert right now as far as on the ground. You and Bobbie, because you guys, your store, High Volume. Bobbie, you're in so many stores. When do you guys really think it's going to happen? Realistically, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Is it going to be 5 years, or is it really that we just don't know?
Well, like Bobbie said, we have a lot of cars coming in. They're just not here. This is a store that sells 300 new Chevys a month, and I have 14 on the ground. That's because every time they come in, they're out the door already because they're pre-sold. So we're never gaining any inventory for stock. So if they can produce chips in a quick way, we could get a huge shipment of vehicles, but the demand is there, so it's still going to wipe those out. So like I said before, there's fleet, commercial, and rental cars, and all these pent-up demand. I mean, the Tsar was way down this year, so there's still a lot of demand out there. So the only thing that could change is demand. Nobody ever knows when a recession is coming, but usually when you get too high and things are too good, that's when you need to start worrying about what lies ahead. And with the stock market the way it is, interest rates.
Well, we're in a period of runaway inflation right now, and that's scaring me. That's scaring me to death.
I don't know how is that possible, where everybody's staying at home and nobody can find anybody to work. There's got to be a shoe to drop on the other end of that at some point.
My favorite restaurant. My wife and I, we have date night every Friday night, and we go to a nice restaurant. And the nicest restaurant in my little town, really, before Star anywhere else, the owner comes by, and the owner knows me well. He comes by and sits at our table, and he says, Jim, I'm paying dishwashers $26 an hour. I'm paying dishwashers. I can't get people. So, even the labor rate is so far up. We're paying people more, but people are making more. And like I said, I'm an affluent guy. I don't claim to be rich. I'm not going to Grant Cardone at you. But anyway, I have more money than I can spend. I got a check for $2,800 from Joe Biden. He sent me a $2,800 check. I'm going,
you know what that means? That means your accountant is doing a great job. That's what that
right.
means.
That's right.
That doesn't have anything to do with what you're making, baby. That
No,
has
what
to
it had to do with
in
is
2020.
when we stopped doing battle plans a couple of years ago, we were making 3 times as much money as we are now. So our taxes dropped tremendously.
Exactly.
You have a good accountant, Jim. Let's be honest.
I'm gonna need your accountant's number because
no
I didn't
kidding.
get a check, and I know I don't make what you make. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Wait a second. I got no check, and I know I don't make your kind of money.
Joe sent me $2,800. I was pleased.
You know what I think is interesting is you hear a lot of businesses, and this probably doesn't pertain to all of them, especially like in the restaurant industry, but you hear a lot of different businesses saying like, we really just can't get good people right now. People just don't want to work right now. And I think that right now we're really seeing the need to intensify the perk for wanting to work for us, the right career path, the right balance in life, things that are really important to people outside of just the money really need to have a high emphasis right now. And if we do that, I think that not only do we score really good people right now, but we reduce our turnover as we're going. One of the best dealers I ever worked with, Jeff Schreier, was on the sidebar, and he just said, good used cars were in high demand before all this started. Now, Jeff Schreier, he's been on this broadcast before. He is a high volume, highline used car dealer. He was a Ford dealer at one of the top Ford dealers in the country, sold his Ford dealership because he wanted to be in used cars. Yeah, it's like Hazel just said, lifestyle is important to this new generation of staff, and he's not wrong. Lifestyle is important. And it doesn't have to be scary. Recruiting and retaining right now doesn't have to be scary, but I'll tell you what, you get a chance to get it right, to get the right people. Like Ashley Church, I'm going to throw this out. I know you won't care, Jim, but I'll just throw this out real quick. Ashley Church, who's been commenting on the sidebars, is one of the most phenomenal dealers that I've ever had like the pleasure to work alongside, creating an insane culture, spent over a year recruiting and hiring the exact right sales manager to add to her team, and is now looking for a marketing director, and has spent 9 months making sure that it's the right person. Right?
Are we doing an employment ad for Ashley Church here?
No, but we should be. If you're looking for a marketing director position, please reach out to Ashley Church. You better be awesome. But I'm saying, like right now, during this time when we're selling all these cars and we're doing all this stuff and we have all these things, why not focus on putting the right persona style into your store? We have time right now to do some things that we don't normally have time to do. We could really focus on service. We could really focus on retention, and we could really do it right so that turnover wouldn't be so high.
Okay, well, yeah.
She said PM me. Yeah, PM me.
PM me.
That'll be a killer job for somebody.
Okay. Ashley's in collusion with Bob.
She's smart.
Okay, we are down to the end of the show. We have done it. I could do 2 more hours of this. Brad, how was your experience today? I'm going to do a CSI survey with you here.
I actually learned a lot of things today. That's why I love being on these, because, sometimes you get jaded on your own opinion of things, and it's important to hear different perspectives across the board. And if I was going to offer any advice, if I was teaching a general manager class today, the most important thing is having good people, because good people are worth their weight in gold. And Tom Brady's a perfect example of that it wasn't Bill Belichick, it wasn't the Patriots, it wasn't the weight room, it wasn't the organization, it was Tom Brady. And the Tom Brady's of the car business can turn nothing into something, a low gross into a big gross, a service complaint into a car sale. And the only thing I worry about is hiring good people. And I don't really concern myself with how to accept Bitcoin as payment on a car or get down these rabbit holes of things that are nice to do. But the most important thing is finding good people, good, talented, hungry people.
Well, Brad, if you need help, I'll help you figure out Bitcoin. I got you.
Yeah, it's amazing. Brad just said something about you could turn a complaint into a sale. One of my dealers in Texas, I have a recording where a customer called up and was going to. He said, "I'd like to speak to the man that sent this mailer to my family, because I'm going to come down there and kick his ass." I mean, this is right
Very
on.
Texas.
That's the way the conversation started. Whoever sent my wife this mailer, I'm going to come down there and kick his ass. And I'm going to tell you, this ended up with the customer taking delivery of a new Silverado.
Perfect.
And inviting the sales manager out to his ranch for his kids and him to ride horses.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
I got that. It's not a video. It's an audio, but it's absolutely hilarious. It's a phone conversation.
That's fantastic.
No stronger loyalty for them than from a customer
right.
that you fixed the problem for.
I'm going to kick his ass all the way into. I'll take the new Silverado, and I want you and your family to come out and ride horses. Unbelievable. Well, we have spent 1 hour. How was this? Max, was it as good for you as it was for me?
It was excellent, and Jim Fitzpatrick is right. When market.
Of course he is.
On the sidebar.
It will be a rude awakening if dealers don't wake up and start getting ready by focusing on service, by focusing on talent retention, by focusing on F&I. I mean, there'll be a lot of rooftops for sale out there.
Well, this is the Dawg Pound. Patrick O'Brien, did you have a good experience today? Did you learn anything?
Always. I love this show because it's always, you always get an opportunity to learn. Yeah, and you always get an opportunity to learn, from like Bobbie, Jennifer, and from Max, and then also the guests such as Brad and the others that have been there. Jim, I've been learning from you. I've been learning from you for a decade.
Okay, thank you.
I'm learning alongside you.
I've already told you that. You're the reason that I even.
Yeah, I'm ego driven, big boy. I'm ego driven.
I know it. But no, and I think the show, as we do more and more of them, the audience is building. I just think there's tremendous value in it every single week, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I really am.
Okay, well, Bobbie, thank you. One thing Bobbie said that was the most inspirational thing that I have written in articles and all, we got to get back to leasing. We have got to get back to leasing. And I teach leasing. I believe in leasing, especially right now. We need to concentrate on leasing because these customers coming back 3 years from now will be more friendly than the customers you're selling at a high gross.
Yep.
You're to be doing them a favor.
Yep. And shout out Max's t-shirt. Max has a Slayer t-shirt on. That's amazing.
So everybody wave goodbye to the audience.
See you later, guys.